All right, so this is going to be, if you downloaded the files for this right here, this is going to be going over how to assemble these and clean them up. Now, what you see here, I did have an older version that I did not upload because I finally figured out how to get that to come out much cleaner, right? See the difference? So I figured that out. This is what's going to be what you'll download right here. It's going to look like that with the finish on there. So it has the camera shadow in the way apparently. And this is just off the printer. We have not finished this at all. So one of the big things is you have this little piece here that holds the light housing right here, just the standard factory one. So it needs to be glued in to the back of that, and I have a couple of spots in there so that that will go in there. And what I'm going to be using is JB Weld. Super glue tends to, apparently I can't do that left-handed, but anyways, we'll get to gluing that in there. Let me try it right-handed here. There it is. That's what the trick was. So I'm going to be using standard JB Weld because it does not get brittle. So the thing about super glue, it'll get brittle, and I would be afraid with being on a vehicle and vibrating, it would shake and break that off, right? Or a crack. It may not, but I would suggest just doing the JB Weld. On the kits that, if I do sell any kits, I'm going to assemble up with this, and this is actually my pieces we're assembling right here to go on the truck. So this is the first run of these. You also have the lenses that need to be cleaned up. So this will need to be sanded, and then it will be clear coated once we're done sanding and polishing. I'll go through that process too. Now, I want to note, for my project, I have made a custom one with the little star cutout on there. What you download is not going to have that. It's just going to be smooth right there. So you won't get the star effect. But that's something special for that truck right there that I'm doing. I'm doing kind of a military truck build on it. Now, if you do want that, let me know and I can upload it. That's fine. But I kind of thought that that would be just kind of for me type thing, right? So anyways, this is what you're going to download right here. Well, you're not going to download that. You'll need to buy these and the JB Weld. So let's go ahead and get to the assembly of these. I want to do the assembly first, and then we can come through and do a little bit of cleaning and polishing on this right here. So this right here come up pretty good. I don't think I'm going to do much with it, but I think I will do a clear coat over the top of it, some sort of clear, and get that looking a little bit better and make sure it's good and protected. Okay, one of the first things you want to do is clean your parts. You also probably want to have some gloves on. Now you can clean it with isopropyl alcohol, but I just happen to have my, if you've watched any of my videos on doing plastic painting and all that, my Super Prep plastic cleaner. That's what I'm going to be using on this to clean all the surfaces. I'm just going to clean the whole part because I am going to do a clear coat over the top of this when I'm done with them, right? So you'll need that. I like using a toothpick to stir up my JB Weld, right? You can also use the wooden coffee stirrer sticks. Those work pretty good. The plastic ones are a bit wimpy, so if you got those, you could try it, but it might not work very well, right? So that's what we're going to be using to attach these. Let me go ahead and get these clean, and it's just, you know, whatever paper towel, blue shop towel or whatever, and do a quick wipe down, make sure it evaporates. You could use alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Okay, now that that's done, I just have a piece of cardboard, and we got our part one right here, the hardener. Now I've already mushed this together and everything, kind of mixed it, make sure it's good. Not going to need a whole lot. I'm going to guesstimate about that much. Should do. If not, I know where to get more. And we're just going to do the steel reinforced epoxy resin. The same amount. Right next to it. Right there. Close that up, get it out of the way. Because I have exactly enough that I need, right? Mix it up. Super exciting, I know. Okay, so we're going to start on our crappy housing here that I didn't like. I'm going to get it kind of in the groove and come around the edges. It don't have to be on there thick. I did leave a little bit of room for this to set in there. And we'll probably have to come back and do a little sanding when we're done. But yeah, that's all. Nothing major. I'm gonna need more. Probably enough to do one by the time I'm done. Okay, now I want to slobber it around there so it has a little bit better footprint. Not too high, just up there along the edges real good. All right, now we're just going to set that in frame, right? Maybe, there we go. So that sets in there real good. I left just a little bit of space for that to work. I'm just going to come in and smooth that just a little bit. We can come back with the sander roll and get rid of any extra that we don't want, because this is shiny, right? I printed this in the silver, so it's somewhat shiny. Get it up in there. We don't want gaps. Come on, I don't want gaps. Now the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come around the outside right here. Now the other thing I like about using this epoxy versus the 5-minute, I get a little bit more working time with this, right? This is going to stay workable for a lot longer. And I'm just going to try to do a radius all the way around there. Now we don't care what the backside looks like, because it's the backside, right? We just need to get her done. So it looks like I needed, probably use just a little bit more. And I'm not going to go super thick on that. I just want to get in there and get that crack done. Yeah, so whatever I do on the next round, I need just a little bit more to do the second one, but kind of see what our idea is. See if I can rob a little more of that. Try not to have lumps and bumps and out of frame and everything, all right? Because I'm not looking at my screen, I'm trying to do this. So that should be plenty to hold this bugger in here, right? We're coated both sides. We kind of got into the seams, and I have the 4 little nubs right there with a little room, so it's got JB Weld around that too. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to work on the second one right here, and I know I need to do just a little bit more than that, however distance that was. Here's a toothpick, and there's a part, so that gives you a reference of how much you need to do. Once I get that on there, well, it kind of needs to cure before we do too much, so it takes a little while to do that. I'll let that dry up real good, and we'll get on to, well, in the meantime, we could be sanding our lenses while that cures up. Hey. Okay, so what I've taken is some panel board nails, and there's a bunch of techniques to do this, but I just drove those down in there a little bit lower than the surface. That way I can block sand it and it not go anywhere, right? So I'm going to be using my block sander 180 to start out with. I don't recommend going lower than that because you're going to get way too many gouges in it. Once we do 180, we can go through and do our red Scotch-Brite, do our 400 grit sandpaper, right? I wouldn't buy this brand. I'm just trying to use this stuff up. 3M is just pretty good on sandpaper. Just put that on my wet JB Weld there. And I'll just use a paint stick and fold it up on there to block it, right? I'll show you kind of the technique. And I went over this when I did the 302 custom badge as well. And then once I get that done, I'll just go over it with gray Scotch-Brite. And I may do one more little thing on that before we clear coat it. And we're going to be using a gloss clear on the lens. That makes it look a lot better than like a satin or a matte, right? The housings, I think I'm going to do a matte on there because it's going to make it look more metallic-y when we're done with that. One other thing, I do have a super glue that may work for you, the Loctite Super Glue Ultra Gel Control, but I found this does get brittle. So it holds, it shouldn't really be doing much with it, but if you're putting a bulb in and out, I just don't know if that would hold up. I would have to test that out. So that is another option if you don't want to use JB Weld on there. The other thing I do want to note, when I did my second one, I put the JB Weld on the little stub right here and then pressed it in, and it come out fine. I just slopped it on there real good, and you see pretty much what we got. I kind of cleaned up around there a little bit and put some in the little gap right there. That's why there's a gap there to fill that in. So this would be a much easier cleanup than that other one, and I used half as much. So Just a note right there. Okay, well, I'm going to get to blocking this right here. So what I'll need to do, I'll need to clamp this board down in such a fashion that I can get my blocking board on there and go several directions on it. That way I don't get lines in there. Now, if you had like that badge that I did, I put it all in one line because I wanted the grained look on it. Okay, done with my sanding with the 180. Do want to mention something. I did ironing on this piece and it's done, and you can't really hear anything. This is the one that I did not do ironing on. So it's a lot rougher. It's going to take me longer to do this. So I think the time to go in and do a good ironing on there is going to save your sanding time right there. So this one right here is ready to go to the red Scotch-Brite. When I blocked it, I tried to go, one direction, another direction, another direction. That way it wouldn't get line grooves in there. Of course, got to do the other side too. The other trick that I have is, this is pretty smooth right there, as you can see, compared to this side. Right? This is on the, the glacier plate is what I used. That way I have to sand less right there. So it shouldn't take very long to get that knocked out and looking pretty good too. Okay, got that polished out, and this is just the same thing as if you ever done a headlight restoration or something. Same process, right? So I went through, did my 400 grit. Now I have a little bit of soapy water. You don't have to per se wet sand it, but this does clog this up, so you'll need to clean your sandpaper off with some soapy water, and then did the gray Scotch-Brite and everything. Now, one other thing that I did do is I used my Ultra Cut compound, and you can use your headlight buffing stuff, right? If you got one of them little kits, and you'll get the same effect. It's plastic, right? So that's all buffed out right there and clean. Now, you see the little inset. Whenever I buffed that out with that compound, I had to go through soapy water. I just took my toothpick that I have from the JB Weld, cleaned it thoroughly. Once I clear that, if that's in there, it's in there. And then there's the side that I haven't done yet right there, right? So I'm just going to go through and buff this side out as well. Gray Scotch-Brite it, buff it out, clean it thoroughly, and then we're ready for clear coat. So what's it going to look like with a clear coat on it? Well, we can tell very easily by taking our water right there and putting on it, and that'll give us a rough idea of what it's going to look like when we're done, right? Because the water's acting like a clear coat. Well, the water's evaporating. But anyways, that's the tips on getting this done right here. The other thing you can do is you could take your housing, if you don't want to use this method, and cut a little piece of cardboard and set in the housing and then set the lens on it so it sets a little higher. And then you can go through and do the same process and just kind of clamp the housing down too before you put that little nub in the back of it, right? So that's a couple techniques to get these together. Like I said, the housings are looking pretty good. It's starting to gum up and stick up now. So I just want to go over, I think I'm just going to do just a really light scuff on this. I don't want it super shiny. I want it to have that kind of that metal look to it. And I'll just do a clear on there. Once this fully cures, after about 24 hours, I'll go in and do a sander roll to clean that up. But yeah, it come out much better just taking the nub and putting the JB Weld on the nub and then putting it in there and wham bam done, right? So that'll conclude this. I'll show you what it looks like after the clear coat's on there. I'm going to be using the, I don't have it in the garage right now. I like to use the Rest-Oleum Ultra cover. It's for plastic. It's the 2X Ultra cover. The satin does good for the metal look. I'm going to use the gloss on this one right here for the gloss look. Okay, moving on to the next segment, I have the lens all done. Now, if you're buying the housings, it's going to come like this. Now, I've already gone in with a little bit of gray Scotch-Brite right here and just went over it right quick and then cleaned it up. So it's ready for me to do the paint that I want on there. Now, for mine, I'm going to do a satin clear paint over the top of it. I'm not going to put anything on it because you may want a different color or polish it out or whatever. And if I go and put a satin clear on there, it kind of ruins that whole idea, right? Oh, just to let you know, here's how the lens came out. Now, I didn't quite get all my scratches out on there on the 180, but I think we look pretty good right there, you know. We ain't going for no winning SEMA over here, right? But I'll try to get that a little bit better on the ones I ship out. They're already going to be cleared. I don't want you to have to mess with that. I want you to be able to just bolt it on if you want to, or if you want to paint it a different color or something, you can do that or clear it. So that's ready to clear. I'm going to go ahead and just do that and get that curing up, and then we'll get to the install. Now what I'm going to do on the lens, it is a friction fit, but I'm going to use just a little bit of super glue. I got 4 dots on there, and we're going to go ahead and get this placed in. So you can see it is a pretty good friction fit, but I'm going to put just a little super glue in there just to make sure that we don't pop out with vibration. And there we are. Look at that. Doesn't that look spiffy? Now you could do a gloss on the aluminum right here, or the silver, and then make it look different, but not bad. I think I prefer the satin myself, but like I said, this is colored in matte. But that's what you're going to end up with. There's that piece right there. This is where our factory fitting light bulb goes in there. And I'm going to do something special. At this time I don't have it in, so here in a minute you'll see it, but these little insets that I have right here is made for reflective tape. So I'm going to go ahead and order my reflective tape, and when it comes in, we'll pick back up in a couple seconds of me putting the reflective tape on there and then going ahead and mounting. I have holes here for a number, I think it's a number 8, and the screws come with it. I need to order the proper size screws for this too, and then I'll go ahead and mount that in. Now this is going to mount in the same factory location the way the factory one fits. So this is literally just put it in, put that in, we're done. Right now I'm also including the light socket right here, a new one, because I know if you're like the truck that I have, the old one sucks and it needs to be replaced anyway. So I'm just going to include one of these in there with it. So you're set up, plug it in, ready to go. Basically one connection, and that's it. Okay, mounting hardware. I'm just going to use a little washer and our 832 by 3/8 self-tapper. So those have the little angle on there, or self-threader, self-tapper. Yeah, same thing. Not self-driller. That's completely different. And I have reflective tape right here to go in the little inset. So I'm going to put that on there right quick and show you how it looks. So we're going to be roughly right there. So I'm going to end it just a little early, right like that. I'm just going to take this and butcher it on camera because the camera is in the way of me doing this. I could, you know, like mark it or something, you know. So I think that's about where I want to be. Come over here. Give it a cut, off camera. Get this peeled up. Butt it up against there. I'm going to put it roughly, not in the middle, right? Put it roughly right there. Crooked. All right, I can live with that. And then we're just going to take our razor and just come up and trim it. Sorry, it's kind of one of those, you know, it's trimming it with a razor here, you know. Not that complicated. There we are. Mash that down real good. That's what's good about that kind of a rough surface too. You know you're going to get a good bite on there. I think that on both sides, it's going to look pretty good. All right, now I'm finishing up had it upside down, finishing up the wiring over here for this on the truck because it needs a new wiring harness. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw these in. It's just, you know, screw the thing in. Okay, Okay, here's the rear marker that I did. I was going to redesign that a little bit, but going through the whole design phase again to put that back there, I just don't think I needed to do it. The mounting pattern is exactly the same. I already have a housing that works. So as you see, I went in and just printed it in red, and I did a honeycomb on there, and just going to leave it at that. I think that'll look fine, and we have this big panel here. If I go through and try to resize it or whatever, I don't think it's going to match as good, right? I think it automatically looks smaller just because it's a bigger panel size than what we had up front. But here we go. That's the set of the side markers for the, 70 to 71? Yeah, I think 70, 71 is what this covers right here when they change from like just the little circle to the rectangle ones, right?